Good evening, good afternoon, assalamu alaikum everyone. So we are here to learn about the skills of writing an abstract. We have learned that many of you have joined from different institutions, nursing institutions across the country. We have our students of the School of Nursing here. They are from year one undergraduate students to graduate students. So we have a diverse group of students. So I try to be simple yet complete, so that you can learn the art of writing abstracts for our conference Spirit 2024. So let me quickly walk you through the objectives for the this webinar. So we'll try to understand the definition and the purpose of writing an abstract for any particular academic research conference. We'll learn about the essential components of an abstract, which includes the background, purpose, methods, results, and conclusion. And then we will understand through examples how to write an abstract that is highly likely to be accepted for a conference presentation. Right. So what is an abstract? So learning through the flyer that we are going to understand what an abstract is, you must have gone through some basic understanding. Abstract is basically a brief summary and description of your project, right? So abstract is a brief summary and description of your project. So if I can give you an example, if you have watched a movie, right? So before watching the movie in actual, you usually see the trailer of that movie, right? To have an understanding of the plot of the movie, what you anticipate seeing in detail in that movie. So the movie has a plot and all the details in it, but the trailer has some of the highlights, right, which engages the audience, yet it tells some points about the story of that movie, but it is not in detail, it's very brief. So similarly, abstract is a brief summary that describes your overall project. Your project will have all the details, all the nitty-gritties, all the complexities, but abstract is only a small description, but complete description of your work. So the word abstract was derived from the word abstractum from Latin language, and literal meaning of abstract is a condensed form of a longer piece of writing. So usually abstracts are worded between 150 to 500 words usually, but it depends upon the conference. They have their own word count. So for Spirit 2024, for example, we have a word limit between 300 to 350. So which means that whatever work you have done, you have to concise it in within 350 words. And it is very important to note that even not only for Spirit 2023, but even if you submit your abstract for any other conference, right? So if you even go one word exceed one, even if one word exceeds from the word count, that abstract is likely to be straight away rejected. So that is why it is very important to keep in mind the word count. You can keep yourself a little less in terms of the length of your abstract, but you should not go beyond the limit, the given word count, right? Writing requires a lot of practice, so that whatever things are in your mind, you can consolidate it, you can concise every important point in your abstract and be very succinct, and you write in a very crisp manner, which engages the reviewer, engages the audience, and they become more interested to learn about your work. So abstract is the it gives a basic idea of what your actual project is going to be. So it should be very, it should be complete, yet it should be very succinctly written. It should be very engaging so that the viewer, um, who is naive to your work, gets engaged and is captivated by your work and read more about it or attend the conference to learn more about your work. Right, so the purpose of an abstract is to highlight the main elements of your project. Project which would mean whichever research work you have conducted, whether it be study with a quantitative design, study with a qualitative design, a mixed methods design, or even if you have done a literature review of any kind, systematic review or a narrative review or a literature review, any work. So you have to highlight your abstract would highlight the main elements of your work. However, it will have enough details to allow your reviewers to understand whether that your work is whether it is relevant to for them to listen to, or it is not very relevant for them. So abstract means that it's very brief, yet it is complete, have all the key components. So there are certain steps of writing an abstract, and we are here to learn more about it. So we will go in a stepwise fashion. So you learn which are the key components that will help you create an abstract which is likely to be accepted for a conference presentation. With that, I would also like to say here that abstracts are written, submitted not only for presentations in an oral presentation format or a poster presentation format for a conference. Abstracts are also written for publications and at the time of grant applications as well sometimes. However, today we are going to learn about abstract writing for it to be selected for a conference presentation. So here are the 6 steps of writing an abstract, and we will learn about it one by one. So the first one is the preparation phase. So this is the first step. Before even you start writing abstract, you should give yourself enough time to prepare and focus your thoughts on what you want to share with your audience. What work do you want to include as part of a conference presentation? So we would recommend, if you prepare enough, if you have a submission date, try to write an abstract at least 3 to 4 weeks ahead of that time, so that you have enough time to write, rewrite, very succinctly write, get it reviewed by somebody, and you are prepared for the submission. So you should keep a very good timeline in before yourself, so you prepare enough and then you submit. Right, so in the preparation you should really ask some reflect and ask a few questions, right? I would take your work as a story. So you ask yourself, what story do I want to tell to my audience, right? So you have done your work, you know every detail of your work, right? You have invested time in it, you know all the nitty-gritties of that work, you know the challenges that you have faced while conducting your research. And consolidating everything together in a 300 and 350 words might be challenging for you, and it may intimidate somebody. However, with some reflection, some discussion with your peers and your colleagues, or maybe seniors, faculty members, a discussion with them would help you narrow down and focus on some of the key elements or key topics or key questions that you want to share from your work. So your work could be very broad, but for an abstract, you have to decide and this come down to 2 to 3 very important points or themes that you want to share it with your audience. So then you take out time and then you identify and you brainstorm. So what have you done, right? How have you done it? What methods did you use? What was the purpose of doing your research? What was the population on which you did the research? What were the findings, main findings or results from your work? What implications does it have on nursing as a profession, on the healthcare system, or the benefit of people? So you brainstorm. So this is a part of the preparation. As I said, your work could be an original research, or it could be a literature review as well. Mostly in conferences, completed works are being accepted. So work in progress is not usually accepted. So whichever research you have completed for Spirit 2024, again, whichever complete work you want to share, you have to submit an abstract for it. Right? So the second question that you can reflect and ask yourself is like, how does my story reflect the conference theme? So every conference has a theme, right? So align your work, align your research to the theme of that conference. So for example, if the conference is related to cardiology, for example, so your work should be aligned with a topic that is in cardiology. Spirit 2024 also has a theme, so try to align your work to that theme, right? So there are more chances that your abstract gets accepted, because the reviewers would be interested to know more about your work related to the theme that they have decided. All right, and they would be intrigued to know more about it. Then you think, what are the requirements? And this is very important before even writing. So understand what are the requirements of submitting an abstract. So you check whether the abstract submission has to be uploaded somewhere, okay, or has it to be shared over email, right? Is there a software for it? Where do you have to submit the abstract? Learn about it. Uh, explore whether the abstract has to be a structured one or an unstructured one, right? So structured abstracts does have some headings, okay, already decided, given, right? So you have to frame, you have to craft your abstract according to those headers. Unstructured abstracts mean that they do not have any heading. It is in a paragraph form. So whatever you write, you start from the background to the purpose, and ultimately to the implication of your work in conclusion, but it does not have any heading. So explore what is the requirement from the conference body. Abstract can be a structured one or an unstructured one. Explore about the word count. As I said, it's very important that you stick yourself to the word count that has already been shared. So this is the preparatory phase, and once you have brainstormed everything, you have explored the website, and you now are ready to start writing the abstract. Okay. And conferences are very good platform to share your work and also for the networking. And the first thing you want to do if you want to disseminate your findings is to respond to the call for abstract. So call for abstract for Spirit 2024 is already out, and the links are already shared. We are accepting abstracts in a structured format. So explore, go on the website, learn about it, and start writing. So now let's move on to the main crux, the main core of this webinar. What are the different, how to start writing. So before writing the actual abstract, the second step after the preparation is getting started. Now you are warming up yourself for writing the abstract. So it is advisable that you start writing your abstract on a Word document first. Okay. Sometimes you are given an option to write paragraphs under the headings given in any link in a Google Sheet or any software, for example. But it is really advisable that you start writing your abstract first in a Word document. It is very ideal for the beginners as well. So a blank page usually for beginners, it really intimidates. It's very difficult to start writing. So it's good that you have a Word document. You copy and paste the headings, And under each heading, for example, heading of introduction, then methods, then results and conclusion, on a Word document, start putting up the headings, and under each heading you start writing. And this should be your first draft. And the first draft should be without editing. Whatever thoughts come to your mind about your work that you have done, you must have brainstormed that. Start putting it in the Word document under those headings. Right? Do not worry about editing at this moment. Do not worry about the word count at this moment. Just start writing. Ultimately, it is going to be revised and rewritten and proofread, and then it is going to be ready. So you never submit your first draft as a final submission for a conference. So it requires a lot of rewriting and proofreading, etc. So this is the phase where you are now actually starting to write. With that, let's move to the third step, which is actually crafting the abstract. Please excuse the typo error here. It's crafting an abstract. And this is the main body. Under these headings, you have to craft your abstract. So abstract can have different headers. For example, the title, background. Background can also be called as an introduction. Then you have the methods. Then you have the results. Results and findings are the same. And then you have conclusions and implications. Sometimes the conferences ask you to write conclusions and implications separately, but in many conferences, they ask you to write the conclusions, which must include recommendation to move forward and the implications of your work. Right, so let's begin with the title. So title it's the first impression of your work, and therefore often it is written last, right? So the title should not be too wordy, too vague, but it should be very concisely written. It gives a concise representation of your project. It should be simple. Do not try to beautify it. Keep it simple. Use a few words, as few as possible, but it should be complete, right? Your title should your title should cover the central idea of your work, whatever you are doing. Try not to use any abbreviations in the title. Okay, abbreviations you can use in your abstract, but whenever you are using abbreviations, try to first spell it, and then in the parentheses you write the abbreviation, and then later you can use that abbreviation in the subsequent sections of your abstract. It is ideal that you avoid any jargons or abbreviations in the title. And it is very helpful if you include the project design or the research design in the title. So your reviewer is very clear about what are you going to present, which study design have you selected, and then it is easy for them to understand your paradigm, which is whether it's a qualitative one, quantitative one. It's easier for them to then understand the nature of your work. Let's take an example. Read this. I've taken this example and we'll follow the same example to learn about the different components of the abstract. The title says the impact of simulation-based learning on nursing students' clinical skills and confidence, a quasi-experimental study. Now, in this title, you can see that the author or the researcher have given a clear idea about the population, right, which are nursing students. They have also highlighted what intervention or what phenomena they have studied. For example, they have explored the impact of simulation-based learning. Okay, what are the outcomes? Those are also given in this title. So clinical skills and confidence, these are the outcomes. And then after the colon, they have written the design of the study. So in this way, this title is not too lengthy, not too wordy, but yet it is very complete and gives a clear understanding of your work, of your research. Versus if you see this title, Simulation in Nursing Education. This seems more like a topic than a research title. And the reviewer would not have a clear understanding of what you are going to explain, what your work is going to be. Is it a literature review? Is it an experimental study? On which population has it been conducted? It's just a topic. Okay, you can write an essay on this topic, but for a research title, it's very, very short. So avoid such kinds of title. Versus this one, an investigation into the various educational techniques utilized in nursing programs to enhance student learning outcomes, including the use of simulation-based training and its potential effects on the development of clinical skills, confidence levels, and preparedness for real-world clinical practice. Now, see, this is too wordy. Many words can be removed from this, and by the time you read the last sentence, you forget the first sentence. So this will happen to the reviewers as well. They will do not clearly understand what are you trying to say, and the title gives the first impression. So it is likely that they will say, okay, we'll see whether we should accept it or not. So again, reiterating that title should be complete, but it should be not too wordy. It should be very concise and give a very crisp understanding of your research. Moving forward, the second section of the abstract is the background or the introduction, right? And this section is going to provide the context of your research, right? Why have you done that work? Already, what work has been done, and how your work is going to contribute to the already existing literature that is available. You have to give the rationale of your work within the context of the field of study that you are in, the field that you have done your work. So here in this section, you have to make a very good connection of the literature, what is available, and then what was the gap, and now what have you done, right? It should be very well knitted in a story form, but it should not be more than 3 to 5 sentences, right? So within 3 to 5 sentences, you explain to your reviewer that why have you done this study, what was so important that you have done this study amid all the existing literature that was available, how your study is important. And towards the end of these 3 to 5 sentences, you write the purpose of your work, right? So the purpose statement should be the final statement of your introduction or the background. And usually in the background or introduction, you do not cite the references. Okay. So there are some conferences which may ask you to provide 3 to 4, 5 references, but do explore whether references are being asked or not. If any conference call doesn't ask for any citations, usually citations should not be added in the abstract at all, right? And in the Spirit 2024, we are not expecting you to cite any resources in the abstract. However, we are asking you to provide 3 to 4 keywords that you can surely add towards the end of your abstract submission. Let's see the example. Okay, so the first line of this introduction section is, the transition from theoretical knowledge to clinical practice is a significant challenge for nursing students. Now they have given the background, okay, that there is a knowledge practice gap. The second line says, traditional clinical training methods often leave students feeling underprepared for real world scenarios. Now the gap is a little bit elaborated, that the conventional style of clinical teaching learning is insufficient for the students to be prepared to deal with clinical scenarios which are occurring on a daily basis, right? So as an alternate, now what is the proposed work that you have done? It is coming in the third sentence as, simulation-based learning offers a safe environment for students to develop and refine their clinical skills. Now, in these 3 sentences, you have presented the available literature. You have told the reader that what was the gap, and you have told them that what you have done, right? And after these 3 sentences, you now come to the purpose of your work. Purpose could be single purpose, twofold, depends on the work that you have done. So in the last, you say that this study aims to assess the impact of simulation-based learning on the clinical skills and confidence level of nursing students. The study also investigates whether SBL can better prepare students for clinical rotations compared to traditional methods. Okay, so in the end, you write the purpose. You can use the words like the purpose of the study was, the study aimed, right? The goal of the study was, the objective of the study was, So in the introduction or background section, you give the literature, you provide the gap, you offer what you did, and in the end you write the purpose of your work. And then you move to the second section, which is the methods. Now, you have created a storyline that what you wanted to do, what you have done. Now here in this section, you are explaining how you have done your work, how your research was completed. And in abstract, the abstract should be very well knitted, starting from the title to the introduction to the purpose statement to methods to the findings, implications, conclusion. It should be very well knitted. It should be very well organized. It should go in a flow. It helps the audience, the reader, to keep themselves engaged in your write-up. Okay, so the more organized, the more good flow the abstract will have. It really captivates your reviewer. Okay, so discussing about the methods, it means that here you have to tell your reviewer the methodology that you have taken in order to complete your work. For example, for original studies, be it quantitative, qualitative, you have to explain the design that you have used. What was the sample? What was the sampling strategy? What was the sample size? What were the data collection methods you used, right? And how you have conducted the analysis. And it goes for both quantitative and qualitative designs. If you have done a literature review, okay, so in this section you can explain the steps or framework, for example, if you have used any, to come up to the findings. So any steps, any framework you have used, what was your search strategy, which search engines have you used, databases explored, what were the key terms that you have used. Remember that your story has more than there's so more to share with your reviewers, but you have to be very very succinct in telling them the exact points that they are looking for. Always be very direct, okay, and explain completely what have you done, rather than being too wordy and beautifying your write-up. So in this section, you explain how your work has been done, and it should very logically flow, as I said, from the title to the purpose to the conclusion. Method section is usually 2 to 4 sentences long. Okay, let's take an example. So it's from the same, this method is from the same study that we have been discussing. A quasi-experimental design was conducted to compare two groups of undergraduate nursing students from a large nursing university. The intervention group, N is equals to 50, took part in a simulation-based learning program, while the control group, N is equals to 50, received traditional clinical training. Both groups were evaluated for their clinical skills and self-reported confidence level before and after the training. Clinical skills were assessed using an objective structured clinical examination, which is OSCE, and confidence levels were measured using a validated scale. Data analysis involved paired t-tests and ANCOVA to account for any baseline differences. Now, in this paragraph, you have explained your entire methodology. You have told them that it was a quasi-experimental design. There were two groups. What did each group receive? How many participants were there in each group? Okay. And when were they evaluated? What was the time frame for the evaluation? Before and after the study, after the training? How it was assessed? Which tools were used to assess which variable? Okay, which outcome? And then what tests were applied. This tells you about analysis. So in few sentences, you give a complete detail of how your research was done. Let's take another example. If your study was a literature review, because we are accepting abstracts having where you have conducted any kind of a literature review. So a comprehensive search of electronic databases, including PubMed, Sinahil, and Scopus, was used to identify relevant studies published between 2010 and 2024. Keywords such as simulation-based learning, nursing education, clinical skills, and student confidence were used. Inclusion criteria consisted of peer-reviewed articles that focused on undergraduate nursing students and assessed the effectiveness of SBL in improving clinical skills and confidence. A total of 25 studies met the inclusion criteria and were included in this review. The studies were analyzed for their methodologies, outcomes, and conclusions. Now, if you see here, you are explaining what you did to conduct this literature review, which databases you explored, what was the timeline, what keywords did you use. Remember, I haven't shared the list of combinations of keywords that you may have used, because that would be too lengthy and not needed at the level of the abstract. Okay, you briefly explained the inclusion criteria, and then you told the reviewer that 25 studies were included in this review, and the outcomes or the findings that were obtained or retrieved from this review were related to the methodologies for SBL, the outcomes and conclusions. Okay, so in one paragraph you explain everything that you did, but one sentence should very nicely flow with the second sentence to the third sentence, and overall your abstract should be very well knitted so that it comes in a flow and the reviewer is confident to understand that this work is worthy to be shared with a larger audience in a conference. All right, now we move to the result section. Now you have shared how you did your work. It is the time to tell the audience what happened as a result of your work. Okay, what findings you you were able to identify from your work. This is the most important part of your abstract. Okay, and therefore usually it is given more like more length compared to the rest of the sections of the abstract. Okay, in this section you have to actually present all the findings. You have to give numbers, you have to give narratives, description of the findings. Okay, but your findings should match with your purpose statement. If your purpose of your work was to understand the effect of SBL on clinical performance, in this section the results should answer to that questions and not any other question. Okay, you may have got lots of findings from your work, but since your research question to be presented in this conference was the impact of SBL in clinical performance, your results should focus and present that only. Leave all the rest of the findings that you have identified. Okay, focus on the facts and data about what was learned during the project. For example, if it was a quantitative study, you will write the actual numbers, attrition rate, prevalence rate, quality of life scores, clinical performance scores, any test scores, etc. Okay, if it was a qualitative study, you will write this your research led to or led to the following themes, and then you start writing the number of themes. Theme 1 name, theme 2 what is theme 2, what is theme 3. Here you mention the themes and the sub themes. If your word count allows you, you can include the sub themes. If your word count doesn't allow, it's okay, you can only mention the themes and your important findings. After you write the themes, do also say in 1 or 2 sentences what was the important finding from your work. And in the literature review, again, you mention the main findings of your review, what your literature review led to, what were the findings of the review. Okay, so here in this section has to be the most important part of the abstract. it must be given more weightage than the other sections of the abstract. And here you have to actually write what findings you were able to gather, and those findings should be in line with the purpose statement and no any other findings here you have to state. Let's take this example. In the simulation-based learning group, students showed a significant improvement in clinical skills. Their mean OSCE score increased from 65.4% to 82.7%. P-value is this, whereas the control group's mean OSCE score increased from 64.9% to 72.5%. Again, the P-value is given. Furthermore, the intervention group reported higher confidence levels after training, with a mean score of 4.2 on a 5-point scale compared to the control group's mean score of 3.5. And again, we have given the p-value. So p-values, confidence intervals, any other estimates you can mention here. So you see we have in this section, we have very clearly stated that the results were significant improvement in the clinical skills, and the numbers also for the reviewers to understand what was the impact of your work. If you have two objectives in your purpose, there are two objectives or two research questions, answer both the research questions in the results section. If you have only one objective, answer to that only. Okay, and give some elaboration of what were the main findings. Let's take another example from the review. The review revealed that simulation-based learning significantly enhances nursing students' clinical skills, with most studies reporting improvements in students' ability to perform clinical tasks and make critical decisions. Additionally, the majority of studies indicated a positive impact on students' confidence levels. However, the review also identified gaps, including the need for more longitudinal studies to assess the long-term retention of skills and confidence. Now, these findings are different from the findings obtained from a quantitative research design study. Here you are presenting the findings from the review. You are stating that out of the 25 studies, what were the main findings? The main findings were that SBL enhanced students' clinical skills. And you can see that we have written here with most studies reporting improvement. So you say that out of the 25 studies, how many studies reported significant change in in performance of the clinical skills or in the decision making. So the write-up is a little different for literature review, but the write-up has to share, this section has to share the complete details of the findings. The last section is conclusion, right? And as I said earlier, in conclusion, you also have to write the implication of your work and few important findings. Now here it is a time that you make some concluding remarks about your work. Okay, so answer this question that after completing your research, what can be said about the topic? What next? What are the implications of your work? What are some of the key take-home messages that you want your reviewers to know? And the salient conclusions that you are here presenting should directly link to your project. No new information should come in this section. Whatever you have presented in other section, the conclusion should be around that. Again, I'm repeating, no new information should be shared at this step of your abstract. And conclusions are usually 1 to 2 sentences long. Let's take this example. Simulation-based learning significantly enhances nursing students' clinical skills and confidence. In one line, we have mentioned what was the main finding of your study. This suggests that it should be integrated into nursing curricula as a complementary method to traditional clinical training. Now you are giving a recommendation that SBL can be integrated into the nursing curricula, not as a substitute, but to augment the curriculum and to complement the original methods of traditional clinical training. This approach prepares students for real-world clinical settings. This is the implication, how your findings is going to help. This approach prepares students for real-world clinical setting and fosters a higher level of self-assurance, which is critical for effective patient care. So you have mentioned the core findings of your study. You have also indicated way forward or the implication of your study. The implications could be at different level. It could be for improving the clinical practice, the research, education. It could be anything. So based on the work that you have done, in the conclusion section, you have to present the important findings with the implications. So this was the last step of writing the crafting the abstract. But here you are not finishing. You are now going to the fourth step, which is editing and proofreading, right? This is as important as writing the abstract. What usually good researchers do is that once they have written the abstract, they keep it aside for a few hours or for a day, for example, and then the next day they look at it with a fresh eye and they check whether your writing is clear, the word count is maintained, the abstract is very succinct and concisely written, there are no jargons, abbreviations are spelled out for the first time, there are no citations given in the abstract, the sentences are short, and the communication is very direct. Do not confuse the reader, do not confuse the reviewer. Say what you want to say, be direct. Active voice is more preferred over passive voice, but it's not a mandatory thing. Your abstract should be in a very good flow and should have cohesiveness. One sentence leading to the rest to tell the story. You check for any grammatical errors, for any tense related errors. And it is very good if you read aloud your abstract. Okay, when you read aloud, it is very easy to catch any grammatical errors or any duplicate words, or if the sentence structure is not good or the flow is not good or anything that requires clarity, you are able to pick up if you read the abstract aloud. So these are some of the tips and tricks. If you follow them, then it is your abstract becomes very friendly to read and to be understood by the reviewer. So editing and proofreading is the other step. Then we move towards the fifth step, which is the stage of submission. Now you are ready with your abstract. Now what you have to do, that you have written the abstract, you have revised it, you have proofread it. Now it's good if you take feedback from somebody who is not aware about your project, maybe a faculty member or a senior or a colleague or a friend, even it could be anyone who is not aware about your project, and ask them to review it. Okay, so it will give another perspective. They will see it from another lens and pick up any point that was unclear to them, and you can refine your abstract. Once you are ready with your abstract, for it is ready for submission, ensure that all the authors who have worked with you for the research, they have reviewed it thoroughly and you have their final approval. At this stage, again, read the submission criteria, the requirements, so you have enough time. If there is anything left, you have time to complete it before submitting. Follow the steps by submitting your work. As I said, some conferences ask you to upload the abstract directly in a space provided. Some conferences ask you to put heading by heading each paragraph. You have to write it in the specific section provided. So follow those steps and submit before the deadline. As I said, it's good that you submit before deadline, so that if there are any glitches, if it is not received to the conference in time, you can check. Usually an auto-generated email or any acknowledgement email or acknowledgement message is received once the abstract is submitted. So do check that out too. Yes, so after submission, it is time to celebrate. You have done a lot of work. You have given a lot of input. Okay. Even submitting an abstract is worthy of recognition. Okay, you have done your work, you are ready to present your work to the larger audience. Celebrate that, congratulate yourself and your peers, whoever have worked with you on a job well done. So this is what the everything about the abstract. You have 6 steps, starting from the preparation to getting started to crafting the abstract, which has almost 5-6 sections. Then you proofread, you submit, and then you finally it's time for you to celebrate. So here I end. These are the references. I am expecting that your questions that you already posted must have been answered in this webinar. And now if you have any other questions, and we have received your questions, so over to you, Shahryar, if you can ask me the questions and then share the feedback form with our participants. And then share the link as well where they have to submit the abstract for the nursing conference, Spirit Conference 2024. Over to you, Shahryar. I'm just stop sharing my screen. Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Sehrish, for such insightful presentation. And now we have some questions from our participants.
Sure.
So some of the participants asked that what is the theme for this year's Spirit, and should we have to submit the abstract according to that theme?
Of course, you have to submit the abstracts in alignment with the theme. And this year theme is, if you can share the theme with them. It is related to the students' perspectives on the research and innovation trends that are going on. So this is the theme for Nursing Conference 2024.
Further,
if you can show them the first slide where the title is written.
Yes, I can show them. So the second question was that what should be the language for the abstract?
It's a good question, actually. Though it's a simple question, but it's a very good question. The medium of abstract all over the world is usually English language. Okay, so you submit your abstract in English. However, with new conference formats coming in recently, they do abstract submitted in the form of a video or a slide presentation, but that's a very different kind of abstract submission process. For Nursing Spirit 2024, we are accepting abstracts written in English language with the given word count. Okay.
So, if you have any other questions, comments, kindly write in the chat box.
You have a Q&A also available.
Yes, you can write in this. So, moving forward.
So we have a questions. If I can see it from my chat box also, Shahryar.
Yes.
So students are asking about should we always use present tense in our abstract? So past tense is usually preferred because the work has been done and now you are presenting it. So use past tense as a language, what you have done.
So if you have any questions, comments, write in the QA section or in the chat box.
Students are also asking about the submission date. So we will share the submission date. The abstract call is already out on the website. The link is given here. You must have been looking at the screen now. The website link is there. It's out for the call is out, and you can start submitting your abstracts. Few of you have already started to submit. You can share more abstracts if you want to. One participant can share more abstracts also. But it should be a completed work, either a research work or a literature review. It must be completed.
So I've also kindly request all the participants to submit their abstract for symposium, reflecting what you have learned today. The deadline for abstract submission, as you see on the screen, is 20th September 2024. And for further, I would like to share the guideline or instructions for the today's for this year abstract is that the primary author must be a nursing student currently enrolled in the program or has been a recent graduate with a nursing degree obtained within the last 2 years. Further, if the abstract is selected, the primary author is expected to deliver an oral presentation of the abstract preferred in person in the main event. The past participant, as mentioned by Ma'am Sehrish, that he can submit more than one abstract, and only Completed research abstract will be considered for selection. Proposal or ongoing projects are not eligible. Research conduct within the last 5 years will be eligible. Abstract must be in text only, no images or graphs are needed for the abstract submission. Literature reviews, projects, and research studies with appropriate ethical clearance where applicable are welcomed. So these are the general instructions. If you need any more.
Right, so I can see a quick few questions and let me answer to them. Someone has written that whether if somebody is a new researcher, it seems difficult for that person to choose a theme or title. Okay, so see what work have you done. If it really aligns with the theme, share the abstract. If you are a nursing student, you have done work related to it is your perspective of anything, whichever work you have done, which is improvising innovation or research trends, please feel free to submit.
Yes.
Okay. How many word count should be in the abstract? So as I said, 300 to 350 is a word count. Someone has asked about the difference between oral and poster presentation. So once you submit the abstract and it gets, we will get it reviewed by our expert review team, neutral team who does not know about your work, okay, who does not know you, they will review it. And once your abstract gets approved for an oral presentation, you will be asked to present. You'll be asked to present through a PowerPoint presentation. Within a given time, you will have to present your findings, present your work to the larger audience. If your abstract is approved for a poster presentation, then you'll be asked to prepare a poster, whether it be an e-poster or a printed poster that we will tell you. The guidelines will definitely be shared to those whose abstracts get accepted, how to, what are the requirements for the oral presentation PowerPoint format, and what is the guideline for the poster presentation. So that we will share, but once you submit and we get it reviewed, then you will be able to know the status of your abstract submission. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Sehrish. So if you have any more comments and questions, write in the chat box. So as I mentioned, the deadline for abstract submission is September 20th. So be a part of the pre-conference and nursing spirit symposium, enhance your skills, share your research, and connect with the nursing community. So
ERC, somebody is asked about ERC as well. So if it is, if your work is research work, you have obtained an ERC for that, an ERC number would be required. If your work does not have an ERC, you haven't taken any ERC ethics approval, then it is not applicable to you. But the work should have been completed and not in progress, that we are reiterating again.
Yes. So these are the important dates for pre-conference and for symposium, which will be announced soon. So the tentative date for the main event is November 26, 2024. So moving forward, these are the QR scans and links for the evaluation form for the today's webinar. So please click the links which are in the chat box or scan the QR code on your screens. And I thank you all the participants for joining today's webinar and for your wonderful questions. Kindly scan the QR code or click on the link to fill out the evaluation form. And for more details about the Nursing Spirit Research Symposium and Abstract Submission, please visit the www.aq.edu@spirit.
So we anticipate that students from year 1 to graduate students, nursing alumni from for last 2 years, work done within 5 years, everyone can apply, right? Nursing colleagues from other institutions are also welcome to apply, and we have received many abstracts in the past 2 years and full participation from our colleagues from other universities in the previous Spirit conferences. You are more than welcome. You can submit as many abstracts as you have. There is no limit for a participant to share a specific number of abstracts. So you can share it. Please do fill out the evaluation forms. We look forward to your participation in the pre-conference webinars, which are in like will be announced soon. And we look forward to your participation in the conference. Do submit the abstracts. Thank you so much.